and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at garage sales, thrift stores, flea markets, places like that to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, stick around. And please make sure to hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing. Today's video is going to be what sold for the week of April 30th through May 6th. Let's get started. The first thing that we sold was a vintage 1970 to 75 Harley-Davidson Electra Super Glide service repair manual. We picked this up at a garage sale where we were purchasing old inventory from another reseller who didn't, actually a couple of resellers who didn't want to be in the reselling business anymore. We sold this item for $49.99, which it was listed as an auction, but it only got one bid, so this was the opening bid, and we had purchased it for $3.28. We had lotted everything up together, and then she gave us a bulk price. So I just kind of averaged everything out when I listed it in our spreadsheet. Next up was a Calvin Klein, really pretty, like royal blue scuba bodycon dress. It was new with tags. We got it at a garage sale. We paid $1.25 for it, and it sold on best offer for $35. Next up was a men's Apartment 9 brand white dress shirt. This was in the Facebook Marketplace garbage bags of clothes that we got. We got like 6 bags of clothes, all for $50. We paid 67 cents per item for those items in those bags. This only sold for $10, and unfortunately the buyer contacted us and said that it had a stain on it and sent us a picture, and they were right, it did. It was something that we had completely missed when we were listing it. So since this item had sold for such a small amount of money, we just said, no problem, we totally missed this. You can keep the item, and we just refunded them. Normally we would either have the buyer send us that item back and maybe try to get the stain out or relist it and disclose the stain. But in this case, since the item sold for such a small amount of money, we just decided to let the buyer keep it. It was a mistake that we made when listing it, and the buyer was actually really happy and gave us positive feedback, so that's how we handled that situation. Next up was a Free People peasant shirt that we found in the Goodwill bins. We paid 61 cents for it, and it sold for our full asking price of $39.99. I was surprised how long this took to sell. I don't know if I had it overpriced, but it had a lot of watchers for a really long time and eventually sold for what we asked for it. Next up was a 3-pack of Titleist golf balls. They were branded with the Crown Royal logo. Those we found in the Goodwill bins, and they sold for $19.98 on offer to buyer. We actually have another identical set of these still listed. Next was a pair of the Saltwater Kids sandals in the Navy Surfer style. These sold for $39.99, and we paid $9.09 for these. We still have more of this style, I think. We still have a lot of the saltwater shoes. I got, I don't even remember how many pair, but I got a whole bunch of saltwater shoes on liquidation from a lady who is closing down her shoe website, her kids' shoe website. Next up was a very odd experience. It was, we sold a branded Lexus windbreaker. It was a women's full zip windbreaker. It had the Lexus logo embroidered on it, and that we had picked up at a garage sale for $1, and it sold for $34.99, which was our full asking price. And then we shipped it out, and immediately when the buyer got it, they opened a return and said that it was purchased by mistake, and we accepted the return, and they sent it back. And they sent it back, I mean, it was in the exact same package that we sent it to them. They had obviously never opened it, never even opened the outside package, and came back to us. So of course we refunded them and relisted it, and it's actually sold again since then. and that buyer seems happy with it. But it was so odd. I was like, what exactly happened there? Did they like buy it in an ambient haze? I mean, what happened that they like didn't even open it? It was unusual, but that was weird. But now that jacket has made it to its final home, I think. Next up was a complete series DVD set of the television show Roseanne that we purchased at an estate sale. This estate sale had the person who lived there smoked cigars, and it had like a really heavy cigar smell in everything that we purchased. And I was hopeful that we only bought like a few things there. We actually bought this Mac behind us, and we bought the Boston Celtics starter jacket that we sold in the last What Sold, that we were able to wash in the washing machine and get the smell out. And then we bought several DVDs, and I was really hopeful that, DVDs, you can just wipe them off and get the smell out. But I was shocked at how infused that cigar smell was in all these DVDs. We cleaned and cleaned and cleaned. We put them in what we called a scent box with like scent sachets. And I mean, there was no getting that smell out. So eventually, after having them for a while and multiple attempts to get the smell out of the DVDs, we threw our hands up and said, this is not happening. We're going to list them, and we are going to very clearly disclose that these smell like cigar. So we did, and we've sold several of the DVD sets with no issues, thank goodness. You'll see that the title says read, and we've gotten positive feedback on almost all of them because we were extremely explicit in every part of the listing that these smell like cigar. Please do not buy these without knowing that these smell like cigar. So thank goodness we have not had any issues. So this sold for $22.99, and we purchased it for $3. I also discounted the price a little bit with that in mind. So hopefully that, also helped our cause. But I don't think I would purchase anything from an estate sale that smelled so heavily. Again, now knowing that, you just, it's not just gonna wipe off. I guess that was just my naivete. Next up was an authentic OEM Super Nintendo 64 GameCube AV RCA cable. We sold this for $13.99, and we found this in the Goodwill outlet and paid 92 cents for it. It sold this sold on Best Offer, and we received positive feedback for it. Next up was a signed lithograph called Sailboats in the Harbor by Richard Aberley Florsheim. This was something that we acquired from our other business that we own. It sold for $119.99. One thing I will say about art, that some of the art that we sell does sell for really high prices. Some of it does and some of it doesn't. But we have to sit on art for a really long time. Art is generally a very, very slow mover. So unless it's something that I know has extreme value or will flip very fast, I do not see art at a garage sale or estate sale or thrift store and think, oh, I'm gonna pick that up, because I know how slow art moves. And also, art is generally really hard to ship, because if it's like already framed or matted or very delicate, you would have to ship it flat. That's very challenging. And even if it can be rolled up in a tube, then you have to deal with the shipping surcharges that are now in place. And so that's also a challenge. So art is just something that's challenging in so many ways. So art is not something that I would recommend picking up unless you know it's going to flip fast, because you will definitely sit on it for a really long time. Next up was an OEM Dymo power supply that we picked up at an estate sale. We paid 75 cents for it, and it sold for $9 even on best offer. Next up was another package of the vintage 1970s party invitations. These were said best times are together times that had like a fall theme. These were Hallmark. We got these at the Goodwill outlet. We paid 92 cents for them, and they sold on offer to buyer for $11.98. Next up was a sweatshirt from H&M. It had a really nice rose print all over it. We got this in a box of clothes that I ordered from Facebook Marketplace. It was like a reseller lot. I paid $4.17 per item for the clothes in that lot, and it sold for $14.18 on offer to buyer. Next up was a pair of Izod hybrid shorts that belonged to my husband. They didn't fit him anymore, so we sold them. They were in excellent condition. I think he only wore them a couple of times. They sold for our full asking price of $24.99. Next up was a PC game that we found in the Goodwill bins. It was called Mysteryville. We paid 94 cents for it, and it sold on offer to buyer for only $7.18, but it sold really quickly. We got positive feedback on it. Next up was the brand was Kokuyo, and it was a stapleless, that's a hard word to say, stapleless stapler. I actually didn't know what it was when I picked it up. I thought it was maybe some kind of scrapbooking punch or, paper punch or something like that. But then I got it home and researched what it was, and it's a stapleless stapler. So I didn't even know that such a thing existed. But we got it at an estate sale. We paid $2 for it, and it sold for $11.18 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Netgear Nighthawk tri-band Wi-Fi router. This came on the liquidation pallet that we got from B-Stock. It sold for $49.48 on offer to buyer. I'm not sure how much we paid for this yet, although we could probably figure it out at this point. We probably need to put pen to paper and do the math and figure it out. And we will have a video coming out sooner than later on our experience with purchasing that liquidation pallet. And so be on the lookout for that. I'd say will be coming in the next few weeks. Now that we've kind of wrapped up that experience, we still don't have everything listed from that pallet, but we've now kind of wrapped up the whole experience and can put our video together to kind of share with you what our experience was, what our recommendations are, and whether or not we would do it again. So we'll be putting that out soon. Next up is a pair of jean shorts from Express. They had like a raw hem. These I got from a lady that I buy from occasionally that I connected with on the Nextdoor app, and I paid $2.94 for them. I had gotten a bulk deal from her, and so this was my average cost per item from that deal. And they sold on offer to buyer for $18.38. Got positive feedback on that purchase. Next up was a Dallas Cowboys t-shirt. It was new with tags. We got this at the Sugar Train estate sale, and the buyer paid $21.58 on offer to buyer. We paid $3 at the estate sale. Next up was a physician's desk reference, or a PDR, for herbal medicines. It was a vintage 1998 version. We paid $3 at an estate sale. And I will say that anytime we see vintage medical books, and more specifically vintage medical books or any kind of medical books that are related to alternative medicine, we definitely pick those up. Those sell very quickly for us. This sold for $39.99, and we had paid $3 for it. Next up was the brand Up and Up, which is a Target store brand. It was 100 count of disposable bottle liners. I got these at a garage sale for $2.50, and they sold for $12.99. And in a previous What Sold video, you might have seen that I sold a big lot of Playtex bottle liners, like 4 boxes of them. I got these at the same garage sale. And I don't know if bottle liners are just selling well right now because there's a shortage of everything. I don't know if there's a shortage of bottle liners or not, or if they always sell well. That I'm actually not sure of. But all the bottle liners I picked up at that garage sale sold immediately. And I also picked up a box of bottles, which have not sold, but they have a lot of watchers. So those all seemed like good pickups. Anyway, next up was a Disney Showcase Jim Shore Elsa figurine. And I think I have seen other sellers talk about these Jim Shore figurines, that they are valuable, and there's certain ones that are like really valuable, but maybe I'm thinking of something else. But this we got at a thrift store. We paid $5.94 for it, and it sold for $47.98 on offer to buyer. It sold pretty quickly, and we got positive feedback on it. Next up was a 2009 pillow pet. It was a purple ladybug. We got this in the Goodwill outlet. It sold for $20, and we paid 67 cents for it. And I will say that almost every we have sold a lot of pillow pets. We still have maybe 1 or 2 listed, but we've probably sold about 10 or 15, and they all sell pretty quickly. I mean, we do not hold on for them for very long. We don't make tons and tons of money on them, but they sell. Like, unless they're in really raggedy condition, we almost always pick them up because they're washable, so you can wash them before you sell them. I think that's why people like them. Also, I think people collect them, but they always sell. They're kind of big, which is one downside, that you don't want to have to store them for a long time, but we don't ever hold on to them long enough for that to be an issue. So pillow pets do well for us. We got positive feedback on this one as well. Next up was a Banana Republic faux leather sleeveless top. It had like a laser cutout look to it. And then we got this at a thrift store. We paid $3.79 for it, and it sold on best offer for $20 even. We got positive feedback on that as well. Next up was a pair of embellished pocket jeans by Premier from Rue 21. I got these also from that lady that I buy from that I connected with on Nextdoor. These also sold for $20 even on best offer, and I had paid $2.94 for them. We got positive feedback on these. Next up was a Soldier of Fortune patch, like just a little 3-inch patch. We had gotten this at an estate sale in a Ziploc bag full of patches. And we paid 27 cents for this one. And it sold for $12.68 on offer to buyer. We got positive feedback on this also. Next up was a Bonnie Jean 4T 4th of July or patriotic dress. This we got at a garage sale. We paid $2 for it, and it sold for $12.68 on offer to buyer. Next up was something that we had in our house for a long time, and then actually it was in this room that I'm in right now. We kind of resituated this room to use for our eBay business and didn't need this item in it anymore. The brand was Acosta, and it was a little shelf space saving desk or shelf that folded down on the wall, like a floating desk. And it sold for $47.98, and it sold on offer to buyer. Next up was a vegan leather moto jacket. It was like a blush color by Cavallini. It had rose gold hardware on it. We had gotten this at a garage sale. It was the only thing we got at that garage sale, and it was new with tags. We paid $4 for it, and it sold really quickly for $26.38. Next up was another item we got on the B-Stock liquidation lot. This was a Lorex 2-pack of indoor-outdoor security cameras. This sold for $94.98 on offer to buyer. We got positive feedback on this. I don't know exactly how much we paid for it yet. Next up was a sweater by the brand Etc. It was like an ivory open knit cardigan. And this brand is kind of a high-end brand. I think it's sold at like Nordstrom's, maybe Neiman's. I'm not sure about that. But I know that originally this sweater would have been sold for, you know, a pretty high price. But the resale value of Etc. unfortunately is not great. It just does not resell that well. So when I saw it it was in the Goodwill bins. When I saw it in the Goodwill bins, I was excited because I knew that this was a high-end sweater. But then when I got it home and started comping it, I was sad to see that it just did not carry the resale value that I had hoped it would. But we paid $1.68 for it in the bins, and it sold for $33.58. And unfortunately, it was returned because it did not fit the buyer, and we refunded her, and it's since been relisted. Next up was a vintage 1983 Frankie Goes to Hollywood 7-inch vinyl record, and that we got at a garage sale, the Reseller garage sale. We paid $3.28 for it, and it sold for only $11 on best offer. Unfortunately, that wasn't a great flip. Next up was a Physics Part 1 and 2 1978 textbook. We got this in the Goodwill bins. We paid 67 cents for it, and it sold for $19.29. Next up was a pair of Denizen from Levi's jeans. These actually were mine. I didn't want them anymore. They were boyfriend jeans. I sold 2 pair to the same buyer. So, but she bought them in two separate purchases, although we shipped them together to her. So the first pair she paid $19.29 for, and the second pair, which was a slightly different wash, she paid $23.99 for. Next up was a set of scrapbooking stickers from the brand Briar Rose. It was an 8-pack of Victorian style scrapbooking stickers. We got these at the Goodwill outlet, and we paid 94 cents for those, and they sold for $12.99. Next up was a throw size fleece blanket. It had Henry Cavill on it, and we found 3 of these actually new in package in the Goodwill bins. And this is the only one that sold so far. This one sold for $39.99, which was our full asking price, and we paid 92 cents for it. Next up was a 50-pack of self-seal window statement mailers by Tops. These we also got in the Goodwill outlet, and we paid 67 cents for them, and they sold for $14.99. And these actually went to a props company in California. So I don't know if they're using them in their office or if they're using them as part of the movie. Who knows? Next up is a lot of 9 Mattel Disney Princess Barbie-sized dolls. These we got at various places, but the majority of them came from a thrift store, and we paid $6 for them in total, and they sold for $21 even on best offer. Next up is a Harley Davidson women's baseball style shirt. It was new with tags, and we got it at the Reseller garage sale. This we paid $3.28 for, and it sold for $29.99, which was our full asking price. Next up was a 2022 McDonald's Happy Meal toy. It was a Sonic the Hedgehog toy number 8. This came from one of our personal Happy Meals, and it sold for $9.99, which was our full asking price. Next up was another Wi-Fi router, another Netgear Wi-Fi router that came from the B-Stock lot, liquidation lot. This sold for $66.48 on offer to buyer. Next up was a pair of silver jeans. The style was Suki Skinny Crop. We got these at a garage sale. We paid only 50 cents for them, and they sold on offer to buyer for $31.98. Next up was a really comfy looking fleece Sherpa, and it was embroidered with the college Texas A&M School of Law, which is local to our area. And this sold for $15.99, and we had picked this up at the Goodwill bins for 92 cents. And last was a package of HP premium photo paper. It was like an 8.5 by 11 box of photo paper. It was opened, but it was brand new. And I think this was a style of photo paper that is discontinued and they don't make it anymore. Because we comped this and were able to list this for $34.99. And although we had it in our store for quite a long time, it did sell for our asking price of $34.99. And we had only paid 92 cents for it. So that was a really good flip for us. It sold to a photo shop. I don't remember what the name of the buyer was, but it was obvious that it was like a photo company, that was their business. So that was a great flip. That's why you should always pick up discontinued items, because somebody's going to be looking for that specific item if it's discontinued. And last but not least, I always go over the collectible cards that we sold from my husband's collection. This week we sold 23 cards for a total of $132.08. So it was a good week for us with cards. We did sell a few higher value cards this week, but we just had a really good week with even some of our lower value cards. We sold quite a few cards and a large quantity of cards to single buyers. Like several single buyers bought 3 cards at a time, 5 cards at a time, 9 cards at a time. So it just happened to be a really good week. People were taking advantage of like multi-quantity discounts and things like that we offered. So this particular week, I was saying last week that sales were trending downward. This week, actually, they did trend up a little bit. My husband was like, "You're being like such a Debbie Downer in your video." So I'm gonna not be such a Debbie Downer, because I did notice that this week our sales had gone up a little bit. We did sell more items for more money. So the outlook is not as bleak as I was making it out to be. In evaluating how much we've been listing in the last few weeks compared to how much we were listing at the time that these items sold, definitely I think that we've been listing less. And I also want to mention that we, in an attempt to boost our sales, because our sales have been so low, we took the advice of some other resellers, and for the first time we ended a lot of listings and then used the sell similar. What we've done in the past is we've ended listings and then relisted them to kind of refresh our listings. Well, that turned out to actually be a really huge mistake for us, and I'll explain why. This is, I guess, a word of warning if you have any listings like us, because this has messed us up in a lot of ways. Number one, we have a lot of what I call drop-down listings, multi-item listings, variation listings. So a lot of our card listings have variations where there's like the drop-down feature. So we have multi-variations of that item. And, if you sell out of a variation of that item in your listing, and then you end that listing and then go to sell similar, well, it resets the quantity back to the original quantity of your very first listing. So we were really excited when we first relisted everything because we were getting all these sales. But then when we went to pull orders, we discovered we didn't have any of those items. And it was because we had already sold all of those items. I mean, that was quite the shock. So then we had to re-end all of those listings and try to sort out exactly what was going wrong. So we figured out what was going wrong. We just had to end all of the listings with variations and sort that out. So now we're in the process of going back through all of the listings with the variations and individually having to update those, count out all of the cards, figure out what has sold. It is extremely laborious. I mean, I wish I had never done this because now we're in this boat of having to basically, do all of our work over again. And this is thousands and thousands and thousands of cards. And when I say thousands and thousands and thousands, I'm not kidding y'all. It is really thousands and thousands and thousands. We're having to count all of these out. The good news is that, it's kind of like an inventory for us. We are double checking that we have everything, double checking that all of the cards look good, that, we don't have any mistakes. Luckily, we haven't had a lot. We've caught a couple where we have had the quantity listed as 2 and it should have been 3. So, there's that. The other really, really negative impact that this has had on us is that because we had to cancel, I think it was 9 orders, we had to cancel those as item out of stock or that we didn't have that item, because that was just a mistake that we made. That was on us. We should have known that it was going to do that. We should have been more cautious. We got lucky in that all of the buyers were very nice about it. We immediately reached out to all of the buyers, explained exactly what happened, and we did not get any negative feedback. All of the buyers were like, that is not a problem, we totally understand. But now we have 9 defects on our account as having an item out of stock, and we are basically going to lose our top rated seller status over this. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to sell a lot and try to earn it back. But it's just something that happened. You just overcome situations like this. We have definitely learned a lesson about how that works, and in trying to work the system worked us. I definitely would recommend using the end listing and sell similar option cautiously, because if you have quantities or variations, double check that as you're going. And I would be careful about doing that in bulk, because you really want to be able to look at your listings carefully to make sure nothing is going awry. So that is my advice on my experience with ending items and doing sell similar. We're just kind of in the thick of it right now. And I do also think that ending all of those listings, taking almost 200 listings down off of our eBay account, that has probably affected our eBay sales to a certain degree. I don't know how much that affects the algorithm removing listings, but definitely I think that's playing somewhat of a part in it. I think I'm just feeling a little deflated and defeated by the whole situation right now. And so that's probably coming across in my videos. So if I'm coming off as Debbie Downer, I apologize, but I'm feeling a little bit Debbie Downer. So luckily we've had 5 sales today, and maybe this is a sign that things are looking up. We'll see. But if you have any advice or feedback for us, I welcome that in the comments. And if you want to just cheer us on and give us some positive vibes, I would welcome that as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video and you found anything entertaining or helpful or informative, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. More importantly, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.